This regular meeting of the Detroit Lake City Council is called to order, and at this time, I would like to invite all of you to please stand and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The minutes of the regular city council meeting held May 8th, 2018, and the special city council meeting held May 22nd, 2018, are before the council. Is there any additions or corrections of the minutes that anyone would like to make? Bruce?
Mayor, on the minutes for the special meeting, on page 4 and 5, I have a couple of clarifications of my comments, and I don't know that, if you want me to read them, I can. Otherwise, what I would just ask is that they give them to Gloria and they be entered in the record. If any council people want me to read them, I certainly can. Otherwise, it's just a clarification off the tape of my comments.
As long as you didn't twist your words around anyway.
Did I twist my words around?
No, that's fine. Any other changes? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion for approval of the regular city council meeting minutes as printed and the changes to the special city council meeting minutes of May 22nd.
So
I would move for that if I can then give these to Gloria too.
Yep.
Thank you.
Was that seconded?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the two sets of minutes. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. The consent agenda is before the council, and all items with an asterisk are considered to be routine by the city council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or a citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered separately in its normal sequence on the agenda. Is there anyone in the audience or any member of the council that wishes to either add or remove an item on the consent agenda? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion for approval as printed.
So moved. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. I'm going to have the vice mayor make a quick introduction here. Ron, if you would.
Yes, I'd like to have Kurt Keenan to please come up front, please. I'm part of the Housing Authority on the board, and we've just hired our new director, and this Kurt Keenan. I'm going to have him say a few words about himself, and we're welcome to have him aboard. He's got a lot of experience, and so we've got a big department with Housing Authority and a lot of great ideas, and with the new person on board, we're looking forward to working with him.
Thank you, Ron. Mr. Mayor, council members, my name is Kurt Keenan. As Ron said, I'm the new executive director of the Detroit Lakes Housing and Redevelopment Authority. I've been in this line of work for about 30 years, and I'm pleased to say that I'm able to bring that experience to bear here in Detroit Lakes. Coming back to the Detroit Lakes area is a bit of a homecoming from me. Both my wife and my families are from this area. Many of you will remember my brother Calvin as your police chief in town for a number of years. So I like to say I'm the taller, better-looking version of that. But it's a privilege to be here in working with the fine staff at the HRA. We will be back to a full complement of staff on June 25th when our maintenance person starts. And with that full staff, I'm looking forward to doing great things here in Detroit Lakes with and for our residents.
Welcome, Kurt. We're glad to have you.
Thank you.
Also, the Ice Palace Committee is here, and I think they want to address the council, so if you want to just please come forward, Scott and Amy and everybody.
Good evening. I'm Scott Walls. Several of our members from the Ice Palace and Ice Harvest Steering Committee are here. I'll let everybody introduce themselves.
Hi, folks. I'm Amy Stearns.
Becky Mitchell.
Carrie Johnston.
Tiffany Walls.
These are just a few of the members of the steering committee for the Ice Palace that we built. It was a great, fun success for everybody, and it wouldn't have happened without the help of the city. Specifically, the Public Utilities and Public Works did a lot of things to really help us get that thing done. And we wanted to give a small token of appreciation to the city for helping get it done. So we've prepared a collage of some of the...
We will hang that up prominently. Thank you. Thanks for all the work, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Congratulations on your chamber award, too.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, I'm going to call on Pam Slipka. And Pam, will you please introduce Tracy and introduce that item?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. The city just completed its audit of the financial statements. The job was done by Brady Marks. They're a CPA firm out of Thief River Falls. And tonight with us is Tracy Bergman, the partner who was in charge of the team that did the audit. And she has a few words to say.
Thank you first I'd like to thank you for hiring Brady Martz, and secondly, I'd like to thank the city staff for their assistance during our audit. On page 1, you'll find the independent auditor's report. The city received an unmodified opinion, which is the same opinion the city received in the prior year. In our opinion, the financial statements present fairly in all material respects. The financial position and the changes in financial position and cash flows for the year ended in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. On page 16 is the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance for the governmental funds. The general fund balance increased $292,000 and ended the year with a fund balance of $4,894,000. On page 23 is the statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position for the proprietary funds. The proprietary funds' net income before capital contributions and transfers was $5,400,000. On page 94 is our report on Minnesota legal compliance. We noted no instances of non-compliance. On page 95 is our report on internal control over financial reporting and on compliance and other matters. And we noted no instances of non-compliance. And on page 97 is our report on compliance for each major program and on internal control over compliance required by the uniform guidance. This year we audited the airport improvement program, and the results of our test disclosed no instances of non-compliance. Any questions?
Any questions for Tracy? Okay, well, thank you very much for coming down, Tracy. We appreciate it. And Dan?
Thank you, Your Honor. Well, the Finance Committee did work with Tracy to do a very thorough review of this report. We're recommending approval of the audited 2017 financial statement, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the audited 2017 financial statement. Discussion?
Sorry,
Go ahead.
jumping the gun here, but I
Go
just
ahead.
want to say that getting this, first of all, Tracy was very thorough. I mean, looking over this report, it's very complete. But I also want to mention that getting the unmodified opinion, old language, unmodified opinion and so forth is a real testament to the integrity and competence of our city staff, and I would just like to commend them on that.
Very well. Good job, you guys. Thanks, Pam. Further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries. Tom
Deserves applause.
Tom McSparron with West Central Initiative would like to address the council this evening. Hi, Tom.
Mr. Mayor and members of the council, thanks for giving me a couple of minutes. We always appreciate the chance to come out here and give you this brief update. And when I'm finished with that, I'd be more than happy to try to answer any questions that you might have. Uniting ideas and resources is a goal which is at the core of every program and project that West Central Initiative makes available in our 9-county region. As we enter our 32nd year, we've seen time and time again that collaborating with the citizens who know the challenges and needs of their communities is a major key to the success of any effort. With our president, Anna Washesha, completing her first year with WCI, she's encouraged our staff to look at all the programs and services we offer, and if necessary, change the way we do business. The comment, "But that's the way we've always done it," is not part of those conversations. And I'd like to take just a couple minutes to give you some examples of how we strive to be a resource that can adapt and will be reflective of all of our communities. Rick Shera has been added to our staff and will lead the Live Wide Open campaign. Rick's available to come to your local service clubs, EDAs, Chamber of Commerce, etc., to share the stories that he's collected regarding families who have moved back to or stayed in our region, as well as consult on local strategies for easing the workforce shortage facing many businesses today. This is one of the tools we are using and making available to communities to encourage people to live, work, and raise their families here. And we invite you to visit livewideopen.com or contact Rick if you have stories that you'd like to share. Jill Amundsen's our new associate planner. She'll be involved in WCI's economic development work, along with the transportation and community development planning. One of the opportunities that she's offering communities is by leading a community conversation around the future of retail. And with all the changes recently regarding especially large retailers, this is a timely discussion to have. The session includes a web-based session, followed by a WCI-led discussion about the possibilities that may be open in your community. And if you're interested in learning more, please give Jill a call in our office. And as I visited with her, she let me know that there has been some interest in having that session here in Detroit Lakes later this fall. A new addition to WCI's grant programs are the Changemakers grants. These awards of up to $5,000 are available to nonprofit organizations, schools, cities, and counties, and are designed to involve a broad range of residents to begin a planning process to address community issues and result in a plan for positive change. There's 2 rounds of the Changemaker grants left this calendar year, with deadlines of July 6th and November 9th. And for more information on these grants, that you can go to either the WCI website or give Wendy a call in our office. While we're proud to expand our reach and promote these new efforts, our commitment to our current programming remains strong. Our early childhood initiatives give our children the best possible start toward a healthy life of learning, achieving, and succeeding. Our business development team continues to work with entrepreneurs across the region to help new businesses start and existing businesses expand. And a 3rd round of forgivable loans for child care providers is also in the process of being completed to help address the need for additional home-based and center-based providers. And 2 of the forgivable loans in the first 2 rounds were here in Detroit Lakes. We know that our past successes, our new programs, and the impact that we continue to have in our region would not be possible without the support we receive from the cities, counties, corporations, and individuals who share in our vision and our mission. That support allows us to continue to address the critical needs in economic and community development. And we thank you for the confidence that you've shown through your past support, and we're proud to call the city of Detroit Lakes a partner in each of these efforts. As always, our pledge to you is to continue the careful stewardship of each gift and every dollar. And before I open it up for questions, I want to make a little more of a personal thank you to the mayor, to the council, the Utilities Commission, and your staff for always being so accommodating to us over the last 10 years when we called and asked to come out and present these. One of the other changes that we're going through at West Central right now is that Rebecca Peterson has been hired as our new Director of Development, and over the course of the next 3 months, I'm going to be working with her and the team that she puts together, and then at some point this fall, I'm going to retire. But I did want you to know how much I appreciate coming out here and visiting with you and spending the time that I have either before the Council, Utilities Commission, or all of the component funds that we've got here in the community. Always enjoy my time in Detroit Lakes. So with that, I'd open it up for any questions that you might have.
When are you going to retire?
This fall sometime.
This fall, okay.
Yep.
So we won't see you next year probably then?
Probably not. In fact, I think they're going to have a big party once I'm gone. The plan.
Okay. Any other questions for Tom?
Well, I just want to say that Tom has been very good to Detroit Lakes, and I'm on one of the committees down there, and he's certainly a friendly face, and he knows what he's doing down there, and we're going to miss having you there, so good
you
luck to
very-
you on your retirement in the fall.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Appreciate you
man.
coming. Kelsey, what about the public hearings? Is there, were all these public hearings taken care of, or do we need to conduct any of them? I think there's some folks here for the number G.
We still have C. We'll have that public hearing. I believe all the businesses have been correct.
Including G?
We're still, G is taking care of no too, huh?
Okay, so back in the back, I talked to somebody back there regarding 601 Highway 10 East, the Shaw property. Wasn't that what you were here for, way in the back, you guys? Apparently that's been taken care of, okay? So, all right. At this time, I'll adjourn the regular meeting, and I'll call to order a public hearing to give consideration to the establishment of redevelopment project number 38, the redevelopment plan and establishment of tax increment financing district 38-1. Kelsey?
In Larry's absence, I'll just go through his staff report that's in your packet. Again, basically, this is to give consideration to establishing TIF District 38-1 for Pelican Landing LLC, which is a proposed 76-unit assisted living facility on Highway 34. The total estimated cost of this project is $12 million. The amount of tax increment being requested is $462,773, which will be used for soil correction on the site. Based upon, again, our current estimates, the tax increment for this project will be paid off in 12 years. It is a redevelop, or actually be a housing district, which is a statutory timeline of 25 years, which is being proposed. But again, based upon these projections, that obligation should be paid off in roughly 12 years. The Detroit Lakes Development Authority recommends approval of the TIF district, and basically we're required to have the public hearing for comments.
Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to the issue of establishment of redevelopment project number 38 and establishment of tax increment financing district 38-1? Hearing none, that public hearing is closed, and I would entertain a motion.
There was something that we did.
Pardon me?
Yep.
Skips the developer.
He's available back there, yeah.
Did you want to say, I'm sorry, I didn't.
I wasn't passing.
Okay.
My name is Skip Duchesne with DW Jones, the developer of this project, and I just wanted to let you know I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions?
Maybe, Skip, you want to tell folks when you're going to start breaking ground and get going on this, when the project will be finished?
Yes, we're expecting to break ground sometime in August. We're going out to bid July 1st. Assuming the numbers come in fine, that we should be on schedule for that. It's going to take 1 year to build, and then we should be, so roughly August, September of 2019, we'd be open for business.
Okay.
And we just finished a large housing survey, and this type of housing was certainly needed, and it'll give us more ways to help people that need income-based housing, and we're glad that Skip was able to provide us with that.
Very good. And I would entertain a motion for approval of the redevelopment project and the tax increment financing district.
So moved.
Motion's been made and seconded to establish redevelopment project number 38 and approve the tax increment financing district 38-1. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion is carried. And all the rest of these public hearings are taken care of, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So without objection, I'd like to move to the Community Development Committee, and Ron, if you would start with 5G, and then I numbered the ones where folks are here tonight.
Okay, let's, first one is 5G, consideration to resolution approving the variance to allow a 4-foot 6-inch side yard setback for construction of a garage at 936 Westlake Drive, Monte Ashmore. I'll get a report from the staff on this, and also this is with an added condition of a right-of-way easement.
Kelsey?
Yeah, Mayor and Council, again, there's a staff report in your packet. Again, the property owners requested a variance to allow a 4-foot 6-inch side yard setback to construct a garage at 936 Westlake Drive. Required side yard setback in an R2 district is 10 feet. There should be a revised resolution on your table from the Community Development Committee meeting yesterday. So again, basically the resolution would be approving the variance with 3 conditions. 1, that the project be constructed as shown on the approved site plan. 2, that the property not exceed the 25% impervious surface requirement. And 3, that the owner dedicate the road right-of-way for Westlake Drive as required by the city.
Okay, I would entertain a motion for approval.
Okay, the committee recommends, and I so moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a resolution approving a variance to allow a 4-foot, 6-inch side yard setback for construction of a garage at 936 Westlake Drive. And you're aware of the conditions, correct? Okay. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, the next item is H. This is consideration to resolution approving a conditional use permit to allow a planned new development at 1402-1440 Apex Court, DL Housing LLP. We've been given the staff report, but do you want to say anything additional to that at all?
Again, this is basically the public hearing you just had on for the TIF district. This is the project. No, excuse me. This is a separate project. Same developer. But this conditional use permit is actually required because it's multiple individual buildings on the same parcel. Again, the resolution has 10 conditions. I'm not going to read through all of them, but the Planning Commission recommends approval on it too.
Okay.
Okay, the committee recommends, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a conditional use permit for a planned unit development at 1402 through 1440 Apex Court. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
Okay, the next item was I, and our attorney Charlie Ramsey has some additional information, but it's consideration of resolution approving a variance to allow 28 boat slips at 1155 Highway 10 East Holiday Inn. And Charlie, at this time, you've got the revised.
We were having some difficulty coming up with language for the permission in this thing, and so I was working on it just up to a few minutes ago, and Stacy produced a new version where I have some suggested language as to what the permission should actually state, so I'm passing that out now. The quirk in this is that the resolution would authorize 28 boat slips, but an additional 2 slips donated to the Let's Go Fishing organization, and coming up with some language to accomplish that is what I was attempting to do in this proposal. And so the only change that's different from what you've seen in front of you would be under the now therefore be it resolved portion. And I'm indicating there that the approval, if approved, would be for seasonal mooring of 28 watercraft. Under the following conditions, up to 2 additional donated seasonal moorings are allowed for watercraft owned and operated by the nonprofit Let's Go Fishing organization. And then there was some concerns about the number of docks. And so we have a provision that talks about other docks projecting into the water from the property should be kept to a minimum. I went out there today and looked. There are currently a marina-style dock where they have most of the slips. There's a dock where surrounds the swimming area where it looks as though it's for temporary tie-ups, people just coming to the restaurant perhaps across the lake. And they have plans for 2 additional smaller docks where they're going to moor a few pontoons. Is that correct, Doug?
Rental pontoons.
Rental pontoons, and those would be off towards the west end of the shore.
Correct.
So I attempt to fit that within the proposed language of this resolution.
Okay. Ron?
Okay, looking this over, has everybody had a chance to take a look? It looks like it's what we wanted at the meeting, and does it look okay for all the in, folks?
Yes.
You approve that then? So with that, the committee recommends, and I so move that we move ahead with this.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a resolution for a variance to allow 28 boat slips at 1155 Highway 10 East Holiday Inn. Discussion on the motion? Go ahead, Jamie.
I'm going to, no, I would prefer that we defer this discussion
discussion, there is some talk of rewriting our dock ordinances, and I think it would be better handled in that context.
Okay, other discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, next item is 5J, consideration of resolution approving a conditional use permit to allow a drive-through at 321 Highway 10 West, Larson and Field Enterprises, also known as the old Subaru on Highway 10. And we'll ask for a staff report from Kelsey, please.
Yes, there's actually two action items regarding this for the Larson Field Enterprises. Item J is a conditional use permit for the drive-through, approval of the drive-through, and then item K is a variance to allow a 20-foot setback from the intersection at Highway 10. Again, there's a staff report that our Community Development Director provided in your packet. I'm not going to go through all of that. Basically, there's some findings of fact that the Planning Commission also approved. Let's see if there's conditions. We did amend that resolution for the variance that should be on the table. We added one additional condition that the owner agrees to pay for the cost of the relocation of the fire hydrant if needed.
Okay, very good then. I think we'll do these separately, and then, so we'll do item J, and the committee recommends, and I so move.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a conditional use permit to allow a drive-through at 321 Highway 10 West, Larson and Field Enterprises. Discussion on the motion? All in favor? Go ahead, Bruce.
Yeah, a couple of things there. I guess that my comments can be in the next time, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
Other discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
Next item K is consider a resolution approving the variance to allow a 20-foot setback from the intersection for a driveway cut at 321 Highway 10, Larson and Field Enterprises. And Kelsey mentioned about as far as the fire hydrant being moved and located and so forth, and the committee recommends, and I would so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a variance to allow a 20-foot setback from the intersection for a driveway cut at 321 Highway 10. Discussion?
Bless you, by the way. So when this came to Planning Commission, I had gone there, I was concerned a little bit that the measurements they were using were off, because that looked to me like they were going to run into that fire hydrant. But the other thing is if you've been there, you realize one of the reasons why we have the 60-foot setback from the intersection is for safety purposes. And so this is going to be, it's going to create a problem here. It is a problem already, but now with the business being used more frequently, it's going to be a concern. And so at least coming back a little bit is going to help. But the other thing that mitigates this is that we found out they're going to use the exit by the post office there. So there will be a right in and right out. So that would help this, and I think that's what the Planning Commission looked at, that after hearing that we were a little more comfortable with how this is going to develop.
Okay. Very good.
We got a motion and a second, so we will move on that.
Further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next item is 5L, consideration of resolution to approving a preliminary plat for Floyd Lake Toy Box Common Interest Community Park. The staff report on that, Kelsey.
Again, there's a staff report in your council packet. The plat contains 29 lots for development of storage, garage, and condominiums. Planning Commission recommended an approval subject to the following conditions. 1, that the owner provide any utility easements required by the city, and 2, that the owner dedicate land for stormwater treatment as designated by the city engineer.
Okay. Ron?
Okay, the committee's reviewed this, and the committee moves to approve this, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to approve a preliminary plat of Floyd Lake Toy Box Common Interest Community. Discussion, and did you folks have anything you wanted to say about this?
Hi, I'm Eric Gunderson, one of the partners for Park Court LLP. I can answer any questions you have, but this has been in the works maybe 6 to 8 months ago, where the existing Floyd Lake Mobile Home Park, it wasn't financially feasible to operate, especially given the septic requirements that we're getting from the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. So we started looking at the land, other options, and needs of the folks out in the Floyd Lake area, and this is what we came up with, so.
Okay. Very good. Any questions for Eric?
If I could just clarify, sometimes we get asked about why is the city approving a plat over by Floyd Lake, and just wanted to clarify, so our subdivision ordinance, we have some extraterritorial control within 2 miles outside the city limits for subdivision control, and that's really all it is subdivision control, platting, those type of things. Zoning authority, that still falls underneath the county, but that's why we're here acting on this, because it falls within the subdivision authority.
Very good. Discussion by the council?
Gloria, would you note that I'll have to abstain on this vote, please?
Further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
Without objection, I'd like to call on Alderman Vokey to take item 8A, please.
Item 8A is from the Public Safety Committee. Consideration to the request from Town Square Live Events, operator WeFest, for a variance relative to the storage structure and temporary beer garden at Sioux Pass Ranch. Kelsey, you care to elaborate on that?
Yeah, I'm trying to find my newest memo. So again, there's a request from Town Square, who operates WeFest, for basically a variance from having a sprinkler system in the Wee Bars. It's basically a bar on top of the hill that, for all the other days of the year, it's used as storage, but during the WeFest event, it's actually used for a different type of occupancy. So basically, the request outlined a couple of conditions that they had recommended to arrange for the installation of pins to prevent the closure of the overhead garage doors during the beer garden's operational hours throughout the festival, and absolve the city of any liability by entering into an indemnity and hold harmless agreements in the event of a fire-related incident involving the structure. We had quite a bit of discussion about this at the committee, and there were some additional conditions that were added. You want me to cover those, or do you want to?
You go for it. You're on a roll.
Okay. First of all, again, basically, the approval of the variance will be contingent upon six conditions. One is that the variance approval will be limited for only 2 years, so we cover 2018 and 2019. After that, basically require them to come back in and request a variance again. We limit the beer garden's operational use to the days of WeFest. I believe in the memo we have 3 days. There might be a little discussion on that. The third item is no person or persons allowed on the upper deck of the storage structure. Number 4, they are required to provide fire watch during the beer garden's operational hours throughout the festival. And then basically 5 and 6 are those conditions that were in the letter. Item 6, we have some additional language that the applicant shall further ensure its obligation to defend and indemnify the city by obtaining endorsement upon its liability insurance that names the city of Detroit Lakes as an additional insured and makes the insurance of the applicant primary and not contributory.
Thank you. I think the one change that was requested on here was item number 2. Limit the beer garden's operational use to what's printed as 3 days. The parties would like it moved to 5 days to include Tuesday and Wednesday as well. That being said, that also would change the fire watch, that if they are using it during those 2 extra days, they would be required to have a fire watch there. In my mind, I think that's a good move. It gives them 2 extra days rather than coming back a month later and saying, well, now we need an extra day to move it to Wednesday. So I don't know if Alderman Jolson, do you have anything to add, or Mr. Wenner from last night's discussion?
No, nothing to add.
Okay.
I have a question. What is the reason since this is not in the city, are we doing this because it's our fire department out there?
Correct. That's correct. It's under our fire watch, yes.
Okay, Matt,
What does the fire watch include?
Fire watch, Kelsey or Chief, please correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a trained representative from the fire department, not only ours, or could be somebody else that is there specifically in this building looking for instances that could flare up, anything like that. Be very on hand or hands-on and be immediate response to that. All right.
And the reason we did that is,
Since it is a building that should have sprinklers, is not, so they would be there with a fire extinguisher to try and knock it down as quick as they can.
The idea is the fire watch is an added protection to mitigate the risk. So basically, there's a person there, has communication abilities, has fire extinguisher, identifies a problem, can try to evacuate the building or address the situation. So it's just another safety measure that you add in since the sprinkler system is there.
Okay, why don't we get a motion on the table and then we can,
I make a motion to approve this with the one change on number 2 from 3 days to 5 days.
is there a second?
Second.
Okay, further discussion.
Well, maybe this is a pretty obvious question, but on number 6, I assume we're going to make sure we get the insurance endorsement in the house before the...
I've talked to the attorney, Mr. Senchins. He's going to provide a little agreement to us where they're going to agree to provide us with the certificate of insurance and show us the policies. Okay? Is that correct, Charlie?
That is correct. We'll have it to you well in advance of the fact.
Does the fire watcher have to be a fireman?
I don't know if that's the case. I think it would be a third party or a member of the fire department, but it has to be someone trained in that area that knows what they're doing.
Does he get free beer?
When they're off duty.
I'm trying to get him in trouble.
I'm just thinking I might need a temporary job. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. I think we have covered everybody that was here. Dave, do you have something you want to bring tonight? Okay. Very good. Let's go back to the top of the community development run.
Okay, first one is item A. We did have a discussion regarding the request to allow chickens, and currently, we don't have an ordinance that allows chickens, so we're just gonna let that one kind of be alone for a while until we, I know there's other communities that do have chickens, but at this point, we're having enough problem taking care of dogs and cats, so I think we'll just leave that where it's at. And then we go on to item B. And item B is consideration to a second reading and adoption ordinance of amending the zoning ordinance to replace section 10 to change the name of the RLB district and change the height requirement to match the height limit in the B1 district. And this goes with the consideration of approving the summary of ordinance number 422 for publication purpose only. And the committee recommends that I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 424, amending the zoning ordinance to replace section 10 to change the name of the RLB district and to change the height requirement to match the height limit in the B1 district. Discussion on the motion.
I have a comment that I'm wondering if this could go back to the committee and they would consider 45 feet, being as 60 feet seems to be excessive and obliterate the view and take away the aesthetic value of West Slope Drive. And also to make a condition that if that was discussed and everybody agreed on the 45 feet, that there would be a condition that there would be no variance granted for any height higher than that.
I don't think that it is permissible to decide in an ordinance that we can't grant a variance. I mean, the variance has to be judged on its merits at the time, so we can't say ahead of it that you can't apply. You may not grant any, but people have the right to apply.
I guess one question thinking about this last night, if this does go to 60 feet, is there a way, because I know we have green space and that we look around there, rather than put a brand new building in with a 6-foot potted tree, is there a way to say that if the building is from 45 to 60 or whatever those numbers are, that it must be a tree of at least 15 feet, 20 feet? Is there a way that we could write that in?
You know, the place where we want to change that is our landscaping requirements of our zoning ordinance. Off the top of my head, I can't cite that word for word. You know, for screening requirements, we talk about having like 6-foot plantings. I mean, I don't, again, off the top of my head, I can't think of anything that's commensurate with height of different plantings, but that's where we would want to address that, is in that landscaping section of our zoning ordinance.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion, Jamie?
Yeah, I would be willing to support, Bar's request and discuss it again in committee at the full department. I have kind of mixed feelings about the 60.
Do you two want to amend the motion? Go ahead.
Before we do that, Mayor and Council, I just want to clarify, I want to clarify what the current RLB requirements are. There's actually 3 different height requirements, okay? So height requirements, option 1 is no building shall hereafter be erected or structurally altered to exceed 4 stories or 45 feet in height. Item 2 is no building when located adjacent to or crossing the street of an R1 or R2 district shall exceed 2.5 stories or 30 feet in height. And then number 3, no building built on a lot fronting the lake shore shall exceed 2.5 stories or 30 feet in height. That's what the current rules are.
Okay.
So what we're doing here is we would be changing from that 30 plus to 60?
To 60,
That
correct.
we could put a building that's 60 feet high
So,
right across?
so basically, to get the comparison, Fairfield Inn, I think, is 52 feet.
The Fairfield, 52.
Yep. And again, we had some discussion, again, just give you some more information on this. So the RLB district is pretty much anywhere where we have RLB zoning is within the shoreland district. So even if with this change of going to 60 feet, there's still this overlay of the shoreland district. Our current shoreland district ordinance says 25 feet max. Now, again, you all know we're working on amending that shoreland ordinance. If that comes to fruition, what's currently proposed in that shoreland ordinance is that in a commercially zoned district, which RLB would be, there would be basically no height requirement in the shoreland ordinance. It would defer to the underlying zoning district, which in this case would be 60 feet. With the exception, again, the current draft of the shoreland ordinance would restrict the height on riparian lots. So like we have RLB district for the bowling alley, that's a riparian lot, so then it would still fall underneath the restriction. Where it was 25 or 30 feet. So that's the other consideration that goes along with this. So to really permit it, you would need to change this ordinance for the RLB district, but then we also need to address it in the shoreline district.
Okay, Bruce?
Yeah, I appreciate Kelsey's explanation here, and as I thought about this myself a little bit more last night, Matt, one of the things, when Kelsey talked about the shoreline, and Kelsey gave us an update for the council where we're at with the shoreline, we don't have it done yet. And primarily that's because, well, I'm going to be polite here, but because we got, the DNR did not cooperate like we thought they would. So anyway, we're working with them on some issues. Did I put it polite enough there? I was trying to be polite.
I'm actually pretty impressed.
Yeah. But anyway, what I started thinking is, part of the thing they're looking for is some trade-offs and some flexibility. And maybe if we could delay looking at this, and I don't know what that means with the second reading, if, Mayor or Charlie might have to talk to us about that, but maybe we could delay this a little bit, because maybe if we do put it at 45 or 48 feet, does that give us some more flexibility and credit towards some other things we want to do? That's just a thought I had, so I certainly would support, if there's some consensus here, to maybe revisit this at a future date. I would support that.
Charlie, is there anything we're going to run into on time as far as the second?
There isn't any specific thing that says that we have to have the second reading within a certain period of time of the first reading. But if the idea is that we may make some changes to what was had at the first reading, the rational thing to do would be just have another first reading of whatever those change ordinances are.
Okay.
So if it stays the same, I think we can have the second reading next month or the month after that. But if we're going to make a material change to it, we should have another first reading.
Okay, Ron?
Well, I think probably looking at the height of this situation, and until we do get that report back from the DNR, I think maybe we could table this until we get information from the DNR to what we can do with this. And if we could hold off on the second reading, I don't see what the hurry would be to do that, so we could maybe just wait on this until we get more information, then we could feel a little more comfortable with it. Because adding a 60-foot building with Fairfield being 50-some feet, it would be some major changes, so I'll give you some time to think about it.
Anybody else want to weigh in?
I guess I've heard good and bad about this from both sides. It's interesting to me that we talked about this at the special meeting when the room was packed, that we were going to discuss the second reading tonight, and nobody shows for it. In my mind, that's kind of a non-issue. The people I've talked to is more worried about the screening. Both people who lived on Minnesota Avenue, looking south to the lake, were concerned with just looking at a big brick wall all winter long. So I think it was the more concern that I heard was more through screening. The other thing I heard that was made pretty clear at that special meeting was, we love our green space. Keep our green space, keep the green space. Well, there's a trade-off. If you want green space, you got to go up. If you don't want to go up, then you're going to get rid of your green space and go out. To me, I don't think 60 feet is outside the realm.
Okay, we do have a motion and a second on the table right now.
Can I withdraw my second?
I don't know, can't you, Charlie? I suppose. We're pretty easy going here,
I think you could make a motion to amend, or you can vote down the vote.
Yeah, I mean, if the consensus is we want to table this, we should probably make a amended motion to table it. Vote on
We
that.
can make a motion to table at any time.
Motion to table.
Second.
And we just call the vote then, right? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye.
Aye.
It's tabled. Okay.
Okay, then,
Good point, though.
We just amended the motion. Just the second, so we just amended the motion.
Well, there was just a motion to table.
table it,
And then choose.
Wipes out everything.
Thank you.
Okay, then moving on to 5C, consideration to the second reading and adoption of ordinance number 426 for the annexation of 9.48 acre tract of land at 19085 Country Road 131 and 18955 Highway 959 Frontage Road in Detroit Township, a zoning tract I-1 light industrial. This is the full trucking and part of County Highway 131, and we're having this second reading because it was an updated wording on that. Is that correct, Kelsey?
Correct, we passed this once, but we have the wrong legal description, so we have the correct legal description.
Okay.
Committee recommends, and you have Bruce second it there, so.
Motion's been made and seconded to give second reading and adopt ordinance 426, annexing the Foltz Trucking property and 9.48 acres. Is it just Foltz Trucking that's in this annexation?
Foltz Trucking and then part of the right-of-way of 131.
Okay.
131.
All right. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. Second reading is given, and the ordinance 426 is adopted.
Okay, next item is D, consideration of the first reading of ordinance 427, amending section 7 and section 9A of the zoning ordinance relative to setbacks on corner lots. I'll ask for a report from the staff on that.
Mayor and council, this is basically a technical fix to match our other zoning districts. There's a side yard setback of 10 feet, but on a corner lot, you usually want that setback to be further, at least 20 feet. And this ordinance would amend our R2 district and RMH district to match our other districts that require 20-foot side yard setback on corner lots.
Okay?
Okay, the committee recommends, and I so move.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to give first reading to ordinance 427, amending section 7 and section 9A of the zoning ordinance. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next item is E, consideration of the first reading of ordinance 428, amending section 6 of zoning ordinance relative to permitted uses and permitted accessory uses in the R1 single-family residential district. And ask for a staff report on that.
Mayor and council, again, this is largely a technical fix. We don't have a lot of R1 zone property, but basically there's currently a long list of permitted accessory uses. This would just pare it down to similar language that we have for the other districts in our zoning ordinance.
Okay?
And as I pointed out at the meeting last night, that R1 zoning district is on the far end of Broadway on the north side of town. So you know where that area is, but the committee recommends, and I so move.
Motion has been made and seconded to give first reading of ordinance 428, amending section 6 of the zoning ordinance. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next, item F is consideration to the first reading of ordinance number 429, amending section 901.09 of the Detroit Lakes Code 900. It's a nuisance relative to violations and penalties, and it's a new ordinance to that, and the committee reviewed this, and I so move.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded to give first reading of ordinance 429, amending our city code, section 901.09, relative to nuisances relative to violations and penalties. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Happy all you have another. We'll go to the Public Works Committee. Alderman Sherman.
All right, item A, consideration for the request from Bug's Ace Hardware to place 2-hour parking signs on the north side of their building. Public Works Committee has no recommendation on this item. We were kind of a hung-jury 2-2. So what do you recommend we do here, Kelsey? Do we have a discussion? Do we table it?
Yeah, maybe it would be helpful to provide at least my input on it. We held a downtown parking meeting. The city and the chamber jointly held a downtown parking meeting a few months ago. We had pretty good turnout. We had a lot of discussion, just like we do at Public Works on this issue. And I don't think there was really any consensus on changing or putting in more restrictions for parking in downtown. The one takeaway that we did have is that they would like the city to provide a letter and some mapping information to show where they want to encourage employees to park in our downtown parking lots. So Public Works Director Brad Green has a letter drafted. We have a map already completed. And what we kind of talked about is we would like to get that information sent out. I'm not saying that's going to be a cure-all, but we'd at least like to give that a shot first and maybe look at this down the road. But again, the letter from Bug's is in your packet if you have any questions on it.
Okay, so I guess, Jay, to further answer your question, certainly you can make a motion if you so desire and put it on the table and we can have some discussion amongst the council.
I guess I'd like to make a motion to approve 2-hour parking signs on the north side of the building. It's 3 parking spots. We're seeing some small businesses failing, and I think that this would definitely help prevent employees from parking there all day long, and if it can support local businesses, I feel like it makes sense to me. We need the employees and the business owners to park further away so that people are encouraged to spend their dollars in town instead of ordering online.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the 2-hour parking signs, and it would be 3 spots, did you say?
Yes, sir.
On the north side of the Bug's Ace Hardware building. And I would open it up for discussion. Bruce?
Yeah, well, I was kind of hoping we were just going to have discussion so I wouldn't have to vote against Bug's, but I appreciate what Jay says about supporting local business, but I actually would prefer to support the staff, and I know the chamber also was involved in that parking meeting, and I guess that's where I came down, is that the recommendation from that group, which we called together downtown business people, and we asked them what their thoughts were, and that's what they came out of the meeting with, which, by the way, Kelsey noted that Bug's did not show up at the meeting, so they didn't give us their input. So while I sympathize with their plight, and I agree with everything Jay said about supporting local business, but in this case, I would prefer that we do allow time to settle as the staff and as the chamber meeting suggested. So I'm going to be voting against the motion, but not against Bug's.
I think before we even had that meeting, we had some businesses on some side streets that had asked for parking signs, and we had approved that before we even had that. And this is a side street. It's the north end of town. I guess I don't see any harm, and it could possibly do some good.
Rob?
Well, we had this meeting, and the majority of the business people there said that we have too many of these signs already that say 15 minutes, 30 minutes. The consumer really doesn't know where they should park, and we've got too many of those signs, and what we need is just to have parking where there's no time limits on, so you come down and do shopping, you don't have to worry about, being in violation of staying someplace too long. And as Bruce mentioned, we had this meeting, it was open to the public, and Bukes did not show up for that meeting to express their wishes, and this room was pretty well filled with business people, and they wanted to have no more of those 2-hour type signs up, so I have to say, I have to support what that group wanted at that meeting.
Further discussion?
So with the parking situation downtown, if we're just going to take a hands-off approach, we're going to just deal with these on a case-by-case basis, or are we just going to go by the letter that Brad sends out or the recommended map that we've got here? I guess either we should do nothing or we should do something, I guess, and I guess I'm in favor of looking at it a little bit more in depth and rather than just piecemealing things together. Looking at the map here, it kind of lays out where we're kind of intending on where we'd like people to park, and if that's the case, maybe we should have that discussion either now or in the future, but not piecemeal this together, have some sort of comprehensive discussion as a group up here.
Okay, further discussion?
Well, I guess I sort of think that this map being sent out to all the businesses in town, pointing out where employees could park, where business owners could park, where general public parking is. I think we've really done a lot of work on it. We confronted the issue. We asked the chamber to help sponsor a meeting. We had business people there. I think we've done a fair job of trying to point out where people should park. I think that was part of the discussion of Public Works, is that we have. I don't know if we pass this to our parking sign, then I can guarantee that we're going to be doing piecemeal, because the minute other owners that really would like to have some spots set aside will be here knocking at our door. So I think by saying that we want to let the dust settle when Brad sends the letter out with the maps, and encouraging business owners to go over that with their employees, that perhaps we need to let it rest for a little while and see if that will help. Then perhaps we can address it again, but we've already addressed it with the public meeting.
And the trouble is right now with the parking situation, it's enforcement for all of it, and we know that there's, I can probably tell you, because I hear about it every morning when I go down for coffee, about 6 business people that park in front of the business every day and have done so for the last 5 years. And so it makes it tough. You can put all the signs you want, but they just keep remaining parking there. And the courthouse has kind of taken the role that it's public parking, so the employees can park wherever they like to downtown. And so you've got courthouse employees that are parking close by. So it's, unless we want to hire 5 meter maids and give out tickets every day, that's kind of comes down, it goes back to having the old parking meters. And the merchant said they don't want any more of that because that chases people away. You start giving people tickets for parking too long, people say I'll never come back to town again, so they don't want to have that happen. So it's a tough situation. So what do you do? And like Madeline said, if we allow this for Bukes to do it, every business up and down the street will say, well, can I have a special hour sign in front of my store? Because I want people to come running in and go out too real quick. So it just doesn't end. So I think that the recommendations made by staff, and we should probably go ahead and give that a try and see how it works out. We had the public meeting.
One more quick comment, Mayor. And by the way, does that mean we would take that Zeman only sign down by Main Street Cafe?
There is no sign like that, Bruce.
Oh, okay. Dan, actually, I agree with you, that was my suggestion yesterday. That, if the idea was we don't want to restrict anything, my comment was let's just take all the signs down. But I was persuaded by Madeline and Kelsey and Ron that let's give this a year to see what happens, and then we're going to come back and discuss it again. Otherwise, I'm with you. I just assume if that's the case where they don't want any restrictions, let's take all the signs down now. But
And if you take down all the signs, there'd be some pretty frustrated small business owners in town.
Except for handicap, you have to have those regardless.
Well, it's definitely a problem, and I guess we're to the point probably where we need to just take a vote and decide what we want to do tonight, and if it's not approved, then we do have something sort of in process with this mapping situation and with the meeting that was held with the chamber and the business people, so unless there's anything new, I'm going to call the question.
Just say, what's the motion that is on the table there?
The motion on the table is to allow you to have 3 spots marked with 2-hour parking on the north side of their building. So, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, the motion does not carry. Jay?
All right, item B, consideration to approving a cooperative agreement with Becker County for the reconstruction of County Road 131. Is that a Mr. Pratt deal, or is that a Mr. Clem?
You know, it's, Mayor and Council, it's a pretty standard agreement that we've used before, just basically outlines the obligations of both entities on the project. Again, we're doing utility improvements under 131, reconstruction of the road, and then we're also doing paving on Stony and Hillcrest, which again are obligations of the county. So basically, the agreement just lays out who's paying for what and what we're building.
Okay.
So Public Works Committee recommends approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a cooperative agreement with Becker County for the reconstruction of County Road 131. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
Item C, consideration to a resolution accepting a bid from the Saline Brothers in the amount of $820,000, $799.35 for the County Road 131 sanitary sewer and water main improvements. The bids were opened on Thursday, June 7th, and Saline Brothers were the low bidder, and Public Works Committee recommends approval of that bid, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to accept the bid from Saline Brothers for County Road 131 sanitary sewer and water main improvements. Discussion on the motion.
Is that still slated for this fall, I would assume?
John?
Yeah, we'll find out from Slade Brothers, but it would be completed yet this year. My suspicion it would be later this year.
Thank you.
Further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
We're going to remove item D and add it to next week's special meeting. Is that what we're doing?
Correct.
No action then?
On item D, can I combine E and F?
Yes.
Consideration to approving the Kent Freeman Sports Arena lease agreement with the Detroit Lakes Public Schools and the Detroit Lakes Youth Hockey Association. Everything looked good there as far as we could see it, so the Public Works Committee recommends approval.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a lease agreement with the Detroit Lakes Public Schools and also a lease agreement with the Detroit Lakes Youth Hockey Association for use of the Kent Freeman Sports Arena. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Anything else, Jay?
That is it, sir.
All right, we'll go to the Finance Committee, right?
Yes.
Chairman Dan.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yeah.
First item on the agenda is acceptance of the DLCCC annual financial statement.
Is that actually on the consent, Dan? So.
I guess it is.
We've already approved it then.
Well, great.
All right.
However, I will mention that we really received a really good presentation on all of the benefits and operations of the community center. I think it would be good if the rest of the council saw it at some point too, so.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we should sometime, Kelsey, ask Josh to come back and come to a future council meeting and make that same presentation.
Yeah, Josh and I talked about, actually Stu too, you know, we post our budget meetings too, and maybe that would be another venue to have that presentation if we get more council members in.
Why don't you see what you can do on that?
Okay.
Dan?
Okay, great. Well, we actually do have the financial statements for the Detroit Country Club and their report on the agenda. I'm looking for little asterisks, I don't see them, so. Anyway, the Finance Committee did review them and recommends approval, and I so move.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded to accept the Detroit Country Club annual financial statements and the independent auditors or accounts report on agreed-upon procedures for the year ending December 31st, 2017. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries.
Item C is authorizing the city to request proposals for a job classification and compensation study. The RFP's in your packets. The committee recommends approval, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to authorize the city to request proposals for a job classification and compensation study. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries.
Actually, item D is yours, Your Honor.
Okay. Without objection, I would like to appoint the Finance Committee as the Budget Committee. Thank you.
Okay, item E then is a resolution amending section 210 of the city code relative to adopting fines for nuisance and stormwater violations. The resolution and is attached. If you look at it though, the penalty and violation fees are $100, and the one that's included here, $100 for administrative penalty for nuisance violations, $100 for administrative penalty for violations of stormwater management, administrative $100 for violations of the zoning ordinance. And it made sense to the CDC. It was reported to me to go with $200 amounts because it made more, it would have more impact. Finance Committee considered this and did agree with it, so we'd like to change the resolution we're actually recommending would include $200 penalties rather than the 100 in your package here. So
Okay.
we recommended approval of that, and I so move.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion?
Well, I just wanted to say the reason we went to 200 is because on some of these, Priscilla, she has to go back 3, 4, 5 times, and it takes a lot of staff time because a lot of times people don't want to get them the way it should be done, and we're hoping that with this going to $200, she can get it done with the first try instead of keep going back and back and back. And so that's the idea of this.
Further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries.
I believe that's all I have.
All right, we'll go to the Public Safety Committee. Chairman Bulkey.
We're going to finish up 8B, consideration to resolution approving the law enforcement mutual aid agreement. This is something that we've had in effect. Chief, anything to speak to this?
No, it's a standard mutual aid agreement, and Charlie's looked it over, and both feel it's a good thing to be prudent for.
Thank you. We spoke of this at the Public Safety, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a resolution approving the law enforcement mutual aid agreement. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Chief Flynn, anything else?
No, I guess we just picked up our brand new fire truck and that was service on that street.
But you said we would see it in the Water Carnival Parade, though, correct? Okay, good. Okay, thank you. All right, thank you. Thank you. That's all, Your Honor.
Oh, sure.
Thank you. Yep. 8C is we're having a special council work session set for June 19th at 4 p.m. here to discuss the findings of the police department facility. So please mark your calendars for that.
Okay, thanks, Matt.
Is there any information that will be coming out before that meeting?
I believe, Kelsey, you're going to try and disperse that information ahead of time, correct?
Yeah, we'll have like an agenda out ahead of time, so.
Okay. All right, we'll move to the Liquor Gambling Control Committee. Chairman Jamie.
Item 9A was discussion regarding proposed amendments to the liquor ordinances. This was discussion only today, so no action. Although several members of the council did attend, and we do appreciate any comments that they have being sent to Charlie and anyone else's comments as they review these amendments.
Okay.
Item B is consideration to the issuance of a noise permit to Triple C Ventures doing business as Lakeside Tavern for July 4th through 5th. The committee recommends approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to issue a noise permit to Lakeside for July 4th and 5th. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries.
Item C is consideration to the issuance of a noise permit to Hunter Investments LLC doing business as Hub 41 for Friday, June 15, 2018, and Saturday, August 25, 2018. The committee recommends approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to issue a noise permit to the Hub 41 for Friday, June 15th, and Saturday, August 25th. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries.
Just two additional items, one action and one just information. The action item is that we've had a request to increase the amount that the donation that we provide for the annual 4th of July fireworks display. They're kind of upgrading their display for this year, and they've asked us to increase our donation. So the committee recommends an increase from $1,000 to $1,250, and I so move.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded to donate to the fireworks in the amount of $1,250 from the liquor fund. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
So just for information, the liquor report this month was really outstanding. The liquor store had like an 18% increase in gross sales this month. So congratulations to Randy and his crew.
Thanks, Jamie. Anything to bring to bear from the Public Utilities Commission, Madeline?
Nothing, thank you.
I have one quick thing on that. I know Mr. Roberts is gone, but I'm assuming the wastewater treatment, we're still on track, concrete's poured?
We're still working away.
Okay.
Lots of equipment down
Still,
there. and cranes
still
and
hauling
stuff.
lots of dirt.
Okay.
I don't have recommendations yet, but I promise I will do so before too much longer here. Couple announcements and information. The 2018 Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities Labor and Employee Relations Seminar is June 14th in Detroit Lakes. We'll have a ribbon cutting for the disc golf course on June 18th at 1:15 p.m. in the city park. And that's for the new disc golf equipment, right?
Blue level.
Is the course changed now a little bit, or is it?
Yeah, we went from 9 holes to 18, and
Okay.
now over 6,000 yards.
Cool. I see a lot of people down there, so that's good.
Used already.
The joint governance meeting will be hosted by the Detroit Lake Schools on July 3rd, 2018 at 7 a.m., isn't it?
Yes. And do we know where? Is it at the?
I sent that.
M Station.
Okay. 2018 Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities Summer Conference is July 25th through the 27th in Mankato. If you're interested, please contact Lori. And the following positions are up for re-election. They're listed on the agenda. Also to note, due to the primary election, the August City Council meeting will be Monday, August 13th at 5 p.m. Anything else from city staff that needs to come before the council? Bruce, do you have anything further to add to the proceedings? Barb?
No.
Jay?
No, sir.
Ron? Matt?
I was going to comment to Brad and the Parks Board that disc golf is used, I'm amazed how much that gets used, and I've heard very good things about that, so thanks for taking care of that. I was sorry to hear about the Norby's closing in downtown. I hope we can find some business quick, but 112 years is an impressive run, so thank you for Norby's for helping out the community for so long. The other thing, God, is it good to see people on the beach again and enjoy summer, so that's all I have, Your Honor.
All right. Jamie? Dan? Madeline? Dan?
I do
you
have
do? Okay.
something
All right.
to say. I have something to say because the city and the city council have kind of taken it in the shorts. Let's put it the way it is. We've taken it kind of in the shorts about not being not promoting music this summer. We're not promoting fun. Social media's been kind of hard as well, and I just wanted to take the opportunity to say to people, you know what, that is not the case. We have voted tonight to extend noise permits to 2 businesses in town that are undoubtedly going to have music on those evenings that we have given them noise permits. So it isn't that we don't want music in town. It's more that we want people to comply with the noise permit. They get a noise permit, they agree to abide by that. That's all we're asking. We're not saying we don't want music and that we don't want people to have fun here. We do.
Hey, well said.
And I would also add on to that, I was out having dinner at the fireside, and I was told that the city council was the reason they had to tear out their porch. And it was our fault, and why did we do that? And I said, we had nothing to do with it, that was their decision, as their business. And we were as surprised as anybody was. So anybody out there has heard that it was the city council that made them do that, that is not correct.
I used to be on Facebook, but...
Off my soapbox now.
Dan, anything? The business of this council has come to a conclusion. The meeting's adjourned.